Hi everyone, welcome back to your channel. I'm here with another tutorial from series of IoT monitoring, which including ESP32, MQTT, and also InfluxDB and also and frontend. So in this session, I would like to explain how you can get a data from ESP32 with MQTT broker and how you can save this information in InfluxDB. So if you are interested in this topic, please stay with me until end and let's get started. In previous session, we discussed how you can write the ESP32 code, and now we already have in my environment is connected, and I just want to explain how you can get this information and how you can save it. So first you would need some library which is necessary for connecting to MQTT, and also it's necessary for your Flask server. So definitely you would need this library, and if you want to install it, just search about this library, then very quickly you will find this library to how to install in your Python environment. Then you would need the InfluxDB as well, because we would need to we can say that to ingest the data into InfluxDB. So these are the library in Python, and you should have the InfluxDB as a client and also InfluxDB client 2. This is the point which is related to single data point, and write precision, which is actually talking about the millisecond and some different scale of the time. And then you have the some client write API, which also some part of the library in Python for InfluxDB, and you have to consider as a synchronous, because the synchronous, when you are using that, the code will make sure the data now already is written in database, then will continue for coding part. Then you have the data time, which is necessary for to change the data time. Like if you want to, for example, here I want to show this data time in this format, so we would need this library as well. Then definitely we need a Flask, one of the library for Flask server, and we don't need this for this session, render for the template, because we don't have the template in this code. But if you want to, maybe the next session we want to add the one front end as a HTML, then we would need this template as well. And this also not applicable for this part. This is again for some other servers. When we are using the React server, definitely we would need such this library as well. Then we are using the threading. This is one of the module which will allow you to use the several tasks in a separate manner. And since we are using the MQTT broker, so we would need it to use this library as well. And then we are using the time, because this is something related to when you are using the scheduling, when you are using some like the MQTT broker for the time, then you would need this library as well. So then we have the very common case for Flask. Again, this is related to APP. If you have a React server, then you will need it. If not, it's not mandatory. Then you would need to define some MQTT setting. So definitely you have the MQTT broker, you have MQTT port, which before I mentioned, this is 8083. This is the default port, and you have the MQTT user, and also the password, which I have defined. It might you don't define it, that's another story, but I have defined, and then here you already have it. Then you should have the MQTT topics, which already has been defined in we can say that the publisher in ESP32 and is sending this information. And the similar I have defined in the InfluxDB, which we will reach to that point as well. I have defined, and you would need to push this information to that the bucket. Then you have the InfluxDB information. This is the InfluxDB URL, which is the default. We can say the IP address and port, and you have the InfluxDB token. This is something which is necessary for communication between your server and InfluxDB. If you don't know how to find this InfluxDB token, please watch my video about the InfluxDB, and you will understand how you can get this API, the token, how to create the bucket, and also organization, and so on. Then you have the InfluxDB organization name and InfluxDB bucket. Then you have the information for InfluxDB client. So these are you already have defined this InfluxDB URL, which is here, token, and or organization, and then drop into influx dash client, and you will define the write API again, about the write API, which is necessary for writing the data. So here in this section is for connecting with the InfluxDB and writing information into InfluxDB with the API. If you want to get the query, so then you would need to write for InfluxDB.query, but in this scenario we are not using that, so that's why I inactivated this part. Then we will reach to MQTT for two items as a connect and message. So this part is configuring the MQTT part, and we would need some we can say the attribute like a client, a user data, flags, and RC. So this client is the MQTT client, and it is responsible for connecting to MQTT. And there is the user data, which is the, you can say, the customized information which you can drop when you are connecting with the MQTT. You can check it here. When you want to define the MQTT client, you would need to use this message like a MQTT client, and then you would need to define the client ID. So why you are using client ID? Because this client ID will help you to understand, okay, this is, for example, X, and then connected to the broker. So it helped the system to understand that this ID. So if you have the client, also you can use some method like a client ID, sensor application, and UUID. So if it's the maybe you would need to define for different the sensor which you have, then in that case you can use the different client, because you may need to define it at the same time. So it will help you with some MAC ID automatically capture this information as a UUID and then give it the name. But for me, I just drop the one name as a sensor app here, and then I define the one user data. Here you can see hello from IoT station to the world. This is the user data, and exactly this user data which you can see here, it will be shown under this user data which is defined in MQTT client. Then there is the one flag. So what is this flag? This flag actually it's a little bit complex, or we can say that it need a lot of the explanation about that. But just very briefly, I'm talking about this flag and the situation. Then maybe later on I can make another video about this, because not the right time now to talk about this. Basically, by default is true, but if you make it as a the false, you see here the clean session. This one is when is true, means it's every time it will start the new session, and it will not remember the we can say the subscriber. But if it's a false, then this flag will come as a 1. 1 means when you are starting this, for example, the your server is already subscribed and it can remember that session. So if let me just very quickly to show you how it will work, and not deep dive into details of that. It's just the purpose of this test. You will see what happening here. Let me just, yeah, look at here. Here there is the session, the received the session is present as a 0, which means every time when when you start, it will start from beginning, and it cannot remember your session. But if you make it as a false here, let me just make it false, and just again let me start this one, and it still is 0. It should be y. Let me just again to, yes, the session present 1, which means now already can remember my subscriber, and it will not restart again or everything. And here you see here, this is the hello from IoT station to the world. This is about the user data which I customized this part. Okay, let's get back to the point. And there is a RC. This RC means if it's 0, means it already is connected successfully, and there are other numbers 1, 2, 3, which I drop it here for your information. You can after I drop the code in my GitHub, then you will find this code and also the details of that, which the indicating each number indicating some error, and you will find the details. Then here, as I said, if RC is equal to 0, which means is connected to MQTT broker successfully, and I drop the user data, which is coming as the customs value which I have defined. I have explained it before. Yeah, here we will show the data, and also I put the print as a flag here. It's just for purpose of the debugging. This is not very actually mandatory. And then here I have defined this part of the code because I wanted, if there is already one attribute, has attribute, and what is the attribute? As a already subscribed. This already subscribed and it's connected, then it come as a true. So if it's true, then it will not come to connect again. It's just showing you it's already broker successfully connected, which means that for reconnection we will not always to start for connect to subscribe. Just one time it will subscribe, and if it even is a reconnect, it's just only doing reconnect, will not do all these process. So this is the target for using this part. And then we have the on message, which again is a client which connect to the MQTT user data and a message. This message does that payload. It's about the data which is already there, as a, for example, for me is a temperature and humidity. It will read this data, and with this part of the code, it will convert to the float number. Yeah, so these are the message, and it will convert it to the float. And for the we have defined the one argument as a the measurement, and it will check the topic when it reach to the one slash, which is extract the temperature or humidity. Yeah, because look like this, when we have this topic, the sensor slash temperature or slash humidity, then it will understand which one is for temperature and which one is for humidity. And here is the target is to write in InfluxDB with the current UTC time. And as you can see that the point for measurement and the field for the value and the time with the UTC now, and write with the millisecond and so on. And this is for writing into InfluxDB. Here, because if I'm not having such this process, then you will not see this timestamp. You will see some value which is doesn't make sense. It's some we can say that some numbers very without any structuring, well structure for the timestamp. So that's why I put this one to show it to you for your log about the data time. And then here there is the definition for error. If there is an error for the value, for the exceptions, then it's come to the error. And then here we have already explained about this part, which is related to the MQTT client. And I have explained each item. I don't think it's required to explain it again. And here we have the MQTT user and MQTT password for the MQTT client, which before we already defined. And also we have the MQTT on connect as an on connect, and MQTT on message. So these two parts actually is the one of the process for MQTT in Python, which one is for connection, another is for message, to get the message. So we have to define it in this format. Then we have the loop for thread, which want to connect to MQTT broker, and also run it in background of the, we can say, the Flask. As I mentioned before, this library will help you to run it the several tasks at the same time. So this is the target is for this part is to connect the MQTT in a background, and we already assigned the loop forever, and in background of the Flask, it always it connecting. And if there is an exception, then or error, it will gives you error for the MQTT broker. And this part is for the normal case for Flask server, which including the host and also port. You can change your port, whatever. Debug I mentioned as a true because I want to see that if there is an error, and also for the reloader. Yeah, that is the part for actually the getting the data from, we can say, the information from the ESP32, which already have here some data. You can see the data now is ingesting to MQTT broker, and also I have my broker, which is getting this data and storing these values into InfluxDB. So for the next step is to how you can query this data from InfluxDB and show into we can say that front end. It is for the next step and for the next level of this project. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any question, please drop your questions in comment below, and please stay tuned and wait for upcoming videos. Thank you again, and see you next one.